All right, here we are, Thanksgiving night, and enjoying leftovers, I'm sure, and being thankful for stuff. I personally am thankful for Star Trek. I'm also thankful for my 3 good friends, hopefully 4 good friends, if one of them makes it in, who's joining me. Shit, I didn't mean to do that. I clicked the wrong thing. Wait. All right, that's enough of that. That's going to make random appearances throughout the episode, I'm telling you. Anytime one of you says something that I disagree with, I'm just going to interrupt.
So clearly it's going to be me. I'm not going to be speaking.
Hey, I didn't put 30 whole seconds of work into that title sequence to not use it throughout the whole episode.
How do I get sound effects?
You don't get the sound effects.
I mean, I thought my theme song worked.
I know. This is what people come here for.
Oh, totally. All right. So, how are you all tonight?
Stuffed.
Sorry, that just gave me a flashback to the seed vault. All right.
How many of us had wine with Thanksgiving dinner?
Not me, sadly.
My grandma came over.
So you definitely had wine.
Or weed.
Okay. Elizabeth, you don't have a funny nickname on your name tonight.
I just couldn't come up with one.
I couldn't either. I was going to do one tonight too, and I thought I just didn't have one. So how are you this evening, besides stuff?
I'm good.
Awesome.
I enjoyed the episode, but I will have some complaints to register. I will have a list of what was it? A list of grievances and requests that I will make during this broadcast.
Excellent. Elizabeth holding a grudge. How are you tonight?
Good.
Oh, look at that. Oh.
That's very cute. And when one of your cats joins you, you can actually hold a grudge.
Yes, 2 of my cats are in this room with me. I was going to say the bed, but...
Seed vault.
Wait, so if you're at your parents' house, that means you brought your cats with you to Thanksgiving dinner?
Yeah.
Okay.
Doesn't everybody?
I leave my pussy at home.
I take mine with me all the time.
I'm sorry.
It is one of those kind of nights, apparently.
This is what New Year's is going to be like.
I know.
I can't wait. It's going to be so much fun.
So, for those who don't know, we're going to have a drinking game for New Year's.
Daniel, how are you?
Better than I deserve.
Excellent. All right, so we're going to go around the horn and just general, no spoilery things. Tell us your overall impression of tonight's episode, starting with Elizabeth. I'm going to call you Grudge from this point out.
I loved it. Yeah.
Would you like to say any more about that then?
It would be spoilery.
Okay. Okay, you can't elaborate on your love without...
Spock.
Okay, excellent. Daniel, what'd you think?
I enjoyed it. I mean, it was very much still the Michael Burnham show, but I really enjoyed the side story with Tilly.
Mm-hmm.
And I was always wondering if they were somehow leading... Never mind, we can talk about this later. But yes, I enjoyed it.
Excellent.
I don't know if it was the best of the season, but it was still enjoyable.
Mm-hmm.
And no nickname? What'd you think of it? Elizabeth?
Oh, me?
Me? Without a nickname, she doesn't know who she is.
Oh, really? It was okay. I mean, it was satisfying from a fan satisfaction standpoint because of certain references that I'm sure that we will talk about in detail. I wasn't overwhelmed by the episode. But yeah, it was okay. It was okay.
I give it a 2.
I give it a live long and prosper.
Okay, well, I've watched it twice now. The first time I watched it, I was done. I was like, I'm ready to tap out of this whole stupid show. I just disliked it so much.
What did you not like about it?
His lack of taste.
Well, we will get into that.
Speaking
kind of
of
stuff.
the nuns that speak that speak with great candor.
Yeah. But anyway, so now that I've had a day to reflect upon it and then watching it a second time, I've come to terms with it a little bit more than I had originally. So there we go. So they go into Saru and Michael go into the office of Admiral Silver Fox, and they say,
That is an apt description.
"Is what?
That is an apt description.
Thank you."
I'm like, wait, that's not his name?
It's Admiral Daddy. Anyway, it's a good thing that he and Anson Mount aren't on the same show, because I would not be able to handle it at all. Too much.
Oh dear.
Yeah,
They won't
exactly.
boldly go there, guys.
Exactly. Anyway, so
The
they go
fan
into.
fiction will.
So he basically sends them on a mission to Navarre, which we learn is the new name of the planet Vulcan, and that Vulcan now is shared by the Romulans in a continuation of the work that Ambassador Spock did back in the 24th century, which I really, really loved. The episode started out so incredibly strong to me. I loved. I knew, obviously, this being called Unification III, that this was going to be a callback to the two-parter from Next Gen. I didn't really expect to see footage of Spock in this episode, and I absolutely loved that. Elizabeth, I know you have a thing to say about that.
Well, yes, I did, because one of the things I noticed about that episode was, we all went awe and had a tear in our eye when Spock came up on the screen. But then did we notice that while Michael was like looking at the footage, that the forward and rewind and stop buttons are the same in
Yes.
that century as they are now?
I mean, there's no need to upgrade certain things.
Yes, that
Right?
is true. That
Yeah.
is true.
If it works.
Exactly.
Right. If it works, why fix it? But
Yeah.
Going back to the beginning of the episode when Silver Fox brought in Saru and Michael, and they discussed the whole SB-19 thing and the history behind it.
Mhm.
That really started to set me off on that episode as one that I wasn't gonna like, because Michael was so friggin' melodramatic during the discussion. And I was like, oh, please let this not be the tone for this entire episode. I mean, sometimes she just goes off the soap opera end, and the overacting.
Well, as a more general statement on that topic, I would really like to have one episode where no one cries.
Right.
Oh
but we
my
have,
God!
But we have Tilly. I mean, how can that be possible whenever she's in an episode?
No.
But lately, it's not been her.
Right.
Well, that's true.
So, Grudge, what did you think of? Were you excited to see, or did you expect to see Mr. Spock?
I did not, and I was watching it with my mother, who, as everyone should know, she was allowed to leave my father for Spock if ever it came about. It was understood. It was fine.
Right.
And she was pretty excited by that, despite the fact that she doesn't really like Discovery.
Okay.
So it was great.
Cool.
Spock is awesome.
Now, Daniel, you have never seen the Next Gen episodes.
Correct, but I read the Wikipedia article on them.
Oh, good. Okay,
The
so
same thing.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got kind of caught up. So, what did you think of the backstory? Did it fill in enough to make this whole episode make sense?
I think so. I mean, Romulans, Vulcans, enemies, and then Spock comes in, makes them friends, and then they're that way for a while, and then they leave the Federation. So I think that it did a good job of filling the gap. I don't think I needed to know anything
Mhm.
except maybe the fact that Sarek dies in that two-parter.
Yeah, yeah,
Mhm.
Which that would be a good callback for Michael to find out is, oh, that's when what's his
That's
face
true.
passed away. But
That's
no,
true.
I don't think I needed to see those first two episodes to understand this one.
But you're gonna. You're gonna.
Mhm.
You're
I
gonna.
know. I know when you should.
Maybe. Okay, so since they head off to, sorry, I got distracted. They head off to Navarre using the brand new Spore Drive,
Mhm.
which
It's
Adira
kind of sticky, which is kind
Yeah.
of sticky and gooey.
which Adira just sort of helped herself into his lab and changed everything. And apparently, none of his staff asked her, "What the hell are you doing? You have to stop doing that." And I don't know. It's just little things
So-
like that. So this episode was full of little things like that, and they also, well, not all of them, but most of them revolved around Burnham.
So back to that, does that mean that anyone can pilot the Spore Drive now? Because all I have to do is stick my hands in the thingy and
No.
think
I
about
was
where I want to
wondering
go.
that. I was actually
Like,
thinking about that. I was
Target
like,
Buckhead.
No, because it's something that was injected into
Tardigrade
yeah,
DNA.
yeah. You have to have
Uh,
that tardigrade DNA to do that.
Right.
So I need that
couldn't I
before I
just
can
go
transform.
get that?
Target.
Yeah.
You
A
can probably
bummer.
get it at CVS.
I thought so. I mean, with the long receipt.
Okay, so the first time I watched this episode, the thing that drove me nuts was Burnham. I mean, she's always the sort of sticky point for me in these episodes, but in this one, she has been reprimanded. She's been demoted all the way down to chief science officer, which is not much of a punishment. But now she's the only person who can bring a message to Navarre. The only person who can bridge the gap between the Federation and Starfleet.
Well, but I kind of bought into that though, because Spock at this point has an almost iconic reverential status with the Vulcans, and I guess with the Romulans too, because of his efforts
Yes.
to reunify. So I mean, I guess I kind of bought that, you know.
I buy it too. It's just that it's something every episode with her.
Oh yeah, she's the only person that
Always
can
the
do
only one
this.
who can do whatever it is that needs to be done this week.
I was more irritated with the fact that she called that little quorum thing without consulting with Spock, or not Spock, with Saru or
Yes.
anyone else,
Yes.
saying, "Hey, what if I try this?" Versus, "I'm just going to do it, and then
Mhm.
consequences be damned."
Yes, but it started really back in the office with Admiral Silverfox, where she basically where she basically took charge of that meeting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, if you want to, the whole premise of the show is that it was going to focus on a first officer rather than a captain,
Mhm.
which is fine, except that they keep making ways to put her in a captain position, narratively speaking.
They don't know how to write it without her being in charge. They are basically following formulaic Star Trek of the captain leads.
Hey,
And thus,
somebody's sideways and going to join us.
maybe. Josh.
Maybe.
Josh 2? Great, we need another one of them.
Wait, is it Kent?
is it-
That's
all right, he's gone again.
Changed his mind. Heard us.
He
It
was
was
sideways. He was sideways in the little preview pane down here, but when he added to the chat, he was non-existent. All right. So anyway, and that's kind of my beef with this. It's that Burnham was the sole element that could, bridge the gap between the Federation and the Vulcans. Apparently, in dialogue, and this is at the end of the episode, so we're jumping forward a little bit. She is the whole reason that Spock became the great man that he became.
Yeah, I thought that was kind of. I mean, come on. The president of Vulcan had known her for all of like an hour, and
There he
all of a
is.
sudden, hello. But all of a sudden, she's now attained an iconic status. Because I didn't buy that all that
Yeah,
part.
it was exactly like in Doctor Who, because the Doctor is the way he is because of all of Clara's influences with the previous incarnations.
There you go. Burnham is Clara.
Yeah.
Oh.
Joshy, how are you?
Hopefully it will. Hopefully everybody can hear me.
We can hear you.
Are
All
you
right,
in a
it
dungeon
works.
or a school basement?
Yes, to both of those.
He's in prison.
This is the place you got me. This is the only way I could get it to work. So here we are.
So
He's in prison isolation.
So what's your overall impression of the episode?
Who, me?
Yeah.
As you know, I was not the biggest fan of last week's episode. And I really felt that we were really teetering on the brink of the Michael apocalypse. But I honestly, I felt that this episode kind of served to right a lot of the problems that I had, because I don't think there's nothing we can do about Michael Burnham, because that's just the way the show is set up. The way the show has been set up since season 1 is she's going to be the main character. She's always going to be the focus.
Mm-hmm.
And we're just going to have to learn to live with that. That's just the way the Star Trek show is set up.
Mm-hmm.
So that being said, I really have had a problem with Michael since she got to the future. I don't know that they've done enough to kind of sell me on this fact that now all of a sudden she's kind of questioning her place and what is she going to do in the Federation and whatnot. I just it reached peak annoyance to me last week, but this week we finally had people calling her on her BS.
Yeah,
and it really felt cathartic to me, and I feel like as long as they now have resolved that issue and kind of move forward from it, then I'm all on board. I kind of felt like this is kind of like the turning point of the season for me.
This season is the big problem is an issue of show don't tell. We know that she had that whole year of seeing being on her own only because they have said it. We haven't really seen anything of it. We don't really see. I mean, she doesn't seem like that much different a Burnham to me than she did last year. So it's only a matter of I almost would have liked the season to have started with a solo episode for Discovery first, them coming in, not knowing where Burnham is, and then that second episode with her showing a bit more of what that year was for her and how it affected her. I just don't really see the effect of it. Other than I don't fit in.
Like I said, I mean, she's always been a very self-centered character, and I mean, everything has kind of revolved around her because she's the main character, and so she's related to everything. And I just felt like it reached a breaking point to this, where everybody else on the show, everything with the Discovery has been put onto the back burner to like kind of cater to her obsession. And I don't feel like the show has told me why I need to care about her obsession.
Yeah.
If the whole point is this is her obsession and it's a detriment to everybody, I mean, of course, I think she'll end up being like right about like, we got to figure out the burn by the end of it, because that's just the way the show is. But I hope everybody is on the same page. And I think that's what's really been bothering me up to this point. Like, and it kind of reached its apex last week as far as how annoying I had found her character this season.
Josh, not pulling punches.
There you go.
That's what I'm here for. I don't hate her as a character, and that's the thing.
Yeah.
Is that I think she's got a lot of potential. I think Sneakle Martin Green is a brilliant actress,
Yeah.
and when they do right by her, like I think she's phenomenal. I think she's brilliant. I just don't think they've been doing right by the character this season. Like and then if they wanted to tell the story, it's fine. They just have not made me a believer in the story, like Alan was telling me. Like they'd not have sold that to me. And so now if we just move past that, and if we want to have the focus on this stupid mystery box of what the burn is, rather than tell the story they should be telling, I mean, whatever, that's fine, as long as it's all working towards that point with everything else on the show.
Yeah. Let's see. Wendy suggests a drinking game during the show anytime Michael cries.
Michael tears up.
I mean, we do need audience participation for our New Year's Eve drinking game. And I do think the audience should come up with the criteria.
Okay. Well, we have one. There we go.
Un.
Amanda says, I liked it. Hang on. Go away, screen. I liked it, but the total saturation of Burnham all season has made this one a little too much of her. See, there were a few episodes that I felt like she wasn't oversaturated, and it felt more balanced. You know, it felt more like we'll never have a true ensemble, show in this or episode in this show, but I thought it got closer. And the last two have just been overwhelmingly Burnham, which, as Joshy says, we should expect. But when she is the linchpin to every single problem or mystery or whatever, it just gets too much. I know she's the focus character, but holy cow.
No, I mean, I'm in agreement with you. There is, and I know a lot of that is we've been trained with 60 years of Star Trek shows that are much more ensemble based rather than, main character focused.
Right.
And so, I mean, like we're dealing with a different kettle of fish with this show, and that can be a little bit hard to deal with, especially when Michael isn't being the, character that we want to follow.
Yeah.
So I felt really good about seeing her busted down over the ending of last week's episode and getting called out this week. So that really made me feel much better, like kind of knocking her down a few pegs, because honestly, like my hugest problem that I've had recently is the way that they seem to want to counterpoint her with Saru. And like it has just felt like they've been kicking Saru constantly, making him look like he is like a Federation lapdog. He has no mind of his own. He's a wuss. He doesn't want to go out and do the right things. Meanwhile, Michael's out there taking the chances and being all Kirk and going out there and ignoring orders because she knows what's best. And like I really felt that they have taken that a little bit too far, because like Saru's got a lot of really good points, and I feel like they kind of addressed that a little bit in this episode by showing just how integral like Saru actually was in reaching the Vulcan president in order to bring about this whole reunification. Whoop, there goes my phone.
Oh no!
Shit.
There we go.
Found him.
There we are. With the Federation.
There you go.
I'm going to stop there.
You keep talking about Michael Burnham, and that kind of thing's going to keep happening.
So what happens? Except for the
Guards
burn.
discovered you had smuggled in a phone.
Wendy says, we must find out about the burn, or I'll cry.
Don't worry, Michael will do enough of that for everybody.
Yeah, there was a lot of that with her and with Michael and with Tilly and with Michael's mom. I was like, enough of the tears.
Yeah. So can we talk about how Michael's mom just kind of threw her under the bus and then ran over her a few times?
Absolutely.
I love that scene when her mom when she was talking to the council or the quorum, and she started really tearing down Burnham, and she just got busted because of this and that, and telling all of the dirty stuff. That look that Burnham gave her mom, you might as well have subtitled Mom.
That was one of the high points of the episode for me.
Yeah.
But it wasn't just that; it was the whole scene. That quorum was a really cool element. I think that the situation between the Vulcans and the Romulans, and between Navarre and the Federation, is so rich narratively. You can build all kinds of things out of that, and I'm really looking forward to. I was watching the after show, and I think it was Michelle Paradise who said that the Vulcans and the Romulans they decided to make the focus of this season, which means that this is the start of seeing a lot more of that, which I'm very excited about.
Yeah, I'm glad. I was hoping that the president would be coming back in future episodes. But you know what I didn't like about that scene? I didn't like I know they probably did it for budget reasons, but why couldn't they have had the quorum meeting down on Vulcan? I was like, this is so cool. We're gonna get to see what Vulcan looks like later, and with a Romulan influence, and then they had it on the ship, and I was like, what?
Yeah. I certainly did want Michael to be able to go down and see her home planet 1,000 years down the road.
Yeah.
That would have been so interesting. We wouldn't have gotten a lot of that, but it would have been a moment before leading up to the quorum thing. I was kind of disappointed that it was all on ship. Okay, let's see I really like Tilly because I get overcome with emotion like that, and it feels good to be seen. That's understandable. So I do definitely want to jump on the Tilly thing, but I want to make sure we've gotten through all the Burnham and that stuff. So speaking of that, a Romulan warrior nun is going to come and be your advocate in the trial thingy, and she shows up, and it's Michael's mother.
No surprise to me.
Are you kidding? Oh, no. I wasn't necessarily surprised, but it's like it seems so contrived.
Yeah, well, I mean, yeah, I guess that's when they announce that there's a special person coming to be your or there's a person coming to be your advocate that has a special interest in your history, and I'm thinking, oh yeah, now they're going to bring her mom in. Yeah, I was the same way. I was like, they have not have brought her back some other way.
Well, I mean, it's a hell of a coincidence, and not something that you would expect to find, and it is kind of shoehorned in. But you know what? I was completely okay with it because, number one, it got somebody on the ship that got to call Michael on her BS, which I was happy about. Right. Number two, it takes her off the table as being one less unsolved mystery on the show. That means it could have tied in with the stupid burn. So if she's just hanging out on Vulcan, then hopefully she's not involved with the burn, which means we cannot have Michael be involved with the biggest event in the last 100 years, as everything else around her seems to be. So if she shows up just advocating on Vulcan, then she can't be doing something else. So I'm okay with that.
And I did like the fact that where she ended up was in that nun group, because Picard had said when they were introduced into that storyline that he thought that they were the most well-trained military group he'd ever seen, and in fact they were so well trained that people mistook them for a group of assassins. And I thought, Michael's mother is really badass. Yeah, that's a pretty logical place she'd end up.
One of the things that I've been wanting to see is that now that CBS is developing all these series at the same time, that we would start getting these kind of thematic crossovers, that it would be sort of a Marvel Cinematic Universe approach to Star Trek. And so we're getting that now, especially with the I can't remember their name, the Romulan,
the Quat Malat.
Thank you.
Yeah, that's it. I didn't know how to pronounce it.
Which was introduced in Star Trek Picard. So I'm really excited to see more of that kind of thing where these series develop in tandem with each other. Let's see. Now, last season we had Pike to balance out Michael. Exactly.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean, I really think Saru could do that this season.
Yeah, that's what I thought too.
If they could make that balance right. And like I said, I think they went way overboard on making, or at least attempting to make the viewer more sympathetic to Michael than Saru. And now I'm hoping that now that she's kind of gotten her act together and realized that, hey, I was not acting right, now that she can be on the ship like she's supposed to be and part of the group, then maybe we get a better source of that dynamic.
So we're expecting Michael to be first officer again by the end of the season?
I honestly hope not. You know, like I had some friends who were convinced that Michael is going to be captain by the end of the season. Like they were absolutely convinced that, and that they were making Saru look so bad in order to make it more palatable to have Michael take over his captainship.
Well, the only thing that I could think of along that line would be Saru really showed his talent in negotiating and an ambassadorial position in this episode, I think. And I wonder if maybe they're not setting up him to move into another role with the Federation as they're trying to put the members back together.
But he's certainly shown plenty of capability in being a captain before this thing happened 4 episodes ago or whatever it was.
He deserves to be captain. They've been teasing him for way too long to get that captaincy. He should be captain.
Yeah.
And then they should give him the opportunity to display that he's capable of being that captain.
Yeah, exactly.
He's perfect for it. And I do think at the end of the series, Michael will be captain of something. I don't know if it'll be Discovery or what. They're gonna be like, we're leaving. It's not gonna be the poker game on the Enterprise.
Well, no. She'll have to still be on Discovery.
I just think that Saru is the perfect captain for the times that they find themselves in, because the whole point going forward needs to be that they are the shining example of what the Federation was and could be again. And they need somebody like Saru at the helm leading that charge, going back and reigniting the flames of the Federation and showing everybody, not some, hothead crusader like Michael, but somebody like Saru who, is his whole existence. Like he talks about how the Federation saved him. And I mean, Michael's always talked about how she's the true believer, but Saru, Michael believes in it, but it always, especially in the last several episodes, it feels like she believes in it when it serves her drive, her need to find some sort of fulfillment. It's something that she needs to do, her obsessive nature to put herself out there and fix things. Whereas Saru is an actual embodiment of the ideals of what Starfleet in the Federation are supposed to be.
This hurts so much, but I agree with Josh. I don't know what to do with this moment.
Wendy points out that Tilly expressed her displeasure with Michael. And that was one of the things that I really loved about it, too. It wasn't just Michael's mother calling her out. It was Tilly basically just dressed her down for putting her in the position that she put her in, which shows Michael there are consequences to your stupid.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And this is a consequence that matters to you. This is basically your best friend.
Yeah.
Loved it. Let's see. I like that she confronted her on that and didn't just let it go. It shows a healthy relationship between them.
Yeah. And I also think, I guess we'll be moving into it, but also shows that Tilly is actually capable of stepping into the first officer role now, because I don't know if first season Tilly would have ever been able to have that conversation with Michael.
And I don't think that first season Tilly, we would have wanted her in that role, because if you think about first season Tilly, she was pretty green roommate. And now, honestly, when they suggested it, I was like, that works.
Well, I do think it's odd as hell that that's the decision Saru goes with, but I mean, they'll make it work, I'm sure.
As you compliment him on he being captain, and all of a sudden you're like, that decision's kind of.
I didn't say he's perfect. I just said he's got the ideals down. How about that?
Yeah, Stamets thought it was pretty weird too.
And George says, speaking of Tilly, I called it, and you said I was ... Yeah, that is true. I mean, it's pretty clear that they were going to pick Tilly because she's main cast. It makes no sense for them to put an ensign in that position. None at all.
That was one of the questions I had. She got promoted to acting first officer, didn't get promoted. Is she the new Harry Kim?
No, because he never got promoted in job description or rank. So,
well, that's true.
so she's still better than he is.
I will at least give them credit that they addressed that this is actually an issue. Like they could have just did it and moved on with it, but they actually, like, as nonsensical as it seems, they actually took time to address it. So I feel a little bit better about it, whether if it just had happened and they had moved on.
Well, and they did say she was the interim, so
right.
I do think that is, of course, so Michael can come back.
I think I agree with that, actually.
Mm.
I mean, it's got to be Michael.
Yeah, I mean, maybe they could get somebody else from the bridge crew where they're like building him up as an actual character.
Mhm.
But
And also, had they said, this is because, you haven't completed your officer training, your command training yet. This is a step toward that. We're going to give you an acting role to further your education. I would have been okay with that. But just picking her when there are lieutenants and commanders who rank above her, it just bugs the snot out of me. I can't help it.
Mhm.
It just doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense that everybody would be okay with it.
But moving forward to that scene near the end where Stamets had the little get together where they were all saying "say yes, say yes." Did nobody get a flashback to a "say yes to the dress" episode during that scene?
No,
I've never seen one. No.
I went with Battlestar Galactica, and so say we all.
Right. I just can't imagine that anybody like Nilsson didn't think, hold the phone, I'm a commander and I take command of the ship every time Saru steps off the bridge. How's that little redheaded bitch going to get to be first officer?
You know what? Fake Arium should just be happy she's still on the
show. She should just be glad she still has a job on the show.
Yeah.
God.
But honestly, I thought if anybody would have an issue with it, Stamets would be the one to have an issue with it.
Agreed.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
that's why she went to him first, because he would be the one that would have the issue with it.
Mm-hmm.
But he still seems like he agreed too easily.
He's really lightening him up this season. The fact that he had a heart-to-heart with Adira last week, and they're really softening him this season.
He probably found the space weed and the spores.
I mean, the wrong kind of mushrooms got in that mycelial network.
I mean, I think they were already in there.
Hi, Chris Railing. Everyone's getting called out. To get really deeply honest seems to be the core emotional theme this season. I agree with that. Wendy addresses Josh. Agree. Not liking how Saru is being battered.
And didn't it hurt a little when you agreed with him? Just a little.
It did bother me in last week's episode how he apologized to Michael. I'm like, you're the captain. You don't owe her anything. You see.
Well, I mean, obviously we get the focus on Michael, but Saru's got a storyline too. Like, he's now the captain, and he, has been all these years as, being a first officer or below, and especially being an old school Kelpian for so long. And he's just now, how long has he had his threat ganglia out? Like 2 weeks? How long has it been? I don't even know how long. And so now he's having to navigate that and be the captain of the ship and figure out how to make those kinds of decisions. And you would think after years and years of having instincts of being kind of, I don't want to say cowardly, but, Kelpianly, I guess, if you want to say it that.
I like that.
But now he has to kind of move forward. And I mean, the whole point was he should have taken the initiative to go to the Admiral with, Michael's stuff, but he didn't do it because he's trying to make his own decision and stand on his own and not rock the boat. But I think, again, they have played up a lot of Saru is making the wrong choices each and every week and getting beat down because of it. And it's really not fair to him because everything that he has said so far has been very sensible.
Yes.
It's just not what Michael has said.
That whole scene last week with the two of them, the one thing you can say whatever you want about Voyager. The one thing, when Janeway was mad at you or disappointed in you, she let you know. And Mulgrew like would fucking act her socks off in those scenes. And that was like some of the most riveting Janeway stuff that they ever did. And it just didn't sell that well to me with Saru. He seemed too timid to really dress her down the way he should have.
Well, I mean, but he's just not that character. He's,
Yeah.
I understand that. But he should have put her in the fucking brig or something, not just bust her down to science officer.
Mhm.
Anyway, hang on. There's so many terrible examples of interpersonal relationships in Trek and every other medium. It's nice to see people deal with each other in ways that feel more real and healthy. Absolutely agreed. That's a very good point.
I mean, and again, this episode really kind of put paid to that because no one has been calling Michael on any of those decisions. I mean, the most we got was her demotion at the end of last episode, but that was almost like a non-personal. I mean, it was a personal thing, but it was like a chain of command type of thing where he's like, "You disobeyed orders, is what you get." And now the second part of that is it's not just that you disobeyed orders and didn't follow the rules. You actually hurt us personally by doing that.
Mhm.
All right, let me scroll through some of these because there's a lot. Let's see. Chris is also saying need Saru and Tilly as a foil for Michael to fight against. They are the container that she struggles against. And I think that, as Joshy said earlier, I think that that's resolved in this episode. I think maybe her struggle with where her placement and everything and living in the restraints of Starfleet, I think maybe that's come to an end.
Yeah, I mean, and they just need to give like Saru and Tilly an equal amount of footing in these scenes and situations because it's always Michael, 100% Michael.
Mhm.
And this is the first time we actually get to see Saru and Tilly kind of react to that and play off of that. And as long as we get that kind of back and forth where it's not just we're following Michael and Michael is the person that is always right and whatnot, and we get the counterbalance with Saru and Tilly. I mean, there's a reason that, you know, you had a 3-person dynamic on the original show where you had Kirk, Spock, and McCoy because they all built off of each other's weaknesses and strengths and kind of, you know, balanced everything out. And that's what we need in this show.
Marsha. Wendy wishes Vandy Beth were here to get pissed about First Officer Tilly.
Vandy Beth was supposed to be here.
Then she realized it's Thanksgiving.
Yes.
Stamets wouldn't want to be first officer, but having his sort of underling her it. Yeah, I mean, she has been reporting to him this whole time, and now it's role reversal.
Mhm.
And that just seems really, really dangerous for morale.
Mm-hmm.
It's not it's just a terrible situation to put anyone in, her and them at the same time.
Yeah.
She doesn't have the experience to be responsible for other people's lives.
No, probably not. But the thing is, Stamets, I think, wants to be in his little bubble in engineering, and he doesn't want to have that position on the bridge, which I think that's why he's probably okay with it.
Yeah.
And also in his little bubble, he wants his people in his little bubble, and that includes Tilly. He trusts her. He wants her there because she understands.
I also think that he was trying to control his temper. He hadn't had one long enough for him to know where his line to explosion is. That's true. I can see him getting really angry, and those things and just fire right at Burnham's face.
And that's how Burnham leaves the series.
In a body bag.
Exactly.
It was real awkward. I mean, she got pregnant, so
She might be.
Siniqua Martin Green was.
Oh, is that right?
She's
Yeah,
Reggie's new.
During this whole time period, she was pregnant.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Mhm.
Okay. I think the only time they've shown Saru angry was that time he was yanked him off that planet and took away his fear. Yes. And it's not a pleasant sight. So yes, I can definitely see him trying to control his reactions to things around him. So the trailer for next week
Ooh.
looks really good. It looks actiony. And we get the return of the Andorian dude who doesn't have antennae.
Right. Can't remember his name.
Tilly's husband
Tilly's husband, exactly. Well,
in real life.
yes,
IRL.
exactly. Tilly's not married to him, but Mary was.
Yes.
There. So, and we get a little teaser there about something completely bizarre
Happening
to
to Giorgio. Yeah.
like when her face goes wow.
And
Did
then
anybody
she
find it
noted,
odd that she wasn't in this episode? What with Michael's mom
Yes.
showing back up?
Yes.
Daniel,
Yeah,
how
seems
did you
like she
feel
was
about
missing.
the lack of Giorgio?
I mean,
Yeah.
it brought the episode down by 5 points.
yeah,
There you go.
definitely.
And this is the only one she's not been in. Well, except for
Yeah.
the first one, which was a solo Burnham thing.
Oh yeah.
Before she died.
But in the after show with Will Wheaton, they showed a scene from next week's episode that is all focused on her. And it looked really, really interesting. I guess we've kind of forgotten about Detmer by now in all the Burnhamness. Exactly. In all the stuff about Burnham, we don't have any time to deal with Detmer and her poor
Really all got fixed when I watched the movie.
Exactly.
Wait, what's this? Hugh wasn't in this either, was he?
Mm-mm.
No, but he's one of those like recurring.
Oh, is he? Oh, okay.
He's
I
in
thought he
next
was-
week's.
Okay.
So
Well,
spoilers.
yeah, he has to deal with Giorgio.
Exactly. So anyway, I'm looking forward to next week's because it looks like a good action episode. Like I love that. I'm excited for it. So let's go around and do our final. Wait, we got one last comment. Saru is extraordinarily strong. He doesn't know what he'd do if he truly lost control. I want to see that. I want to see Michael piss him off to the point where he goes on a rampage and just like destroys the bridge or something. That'd be awesome. And then he gets demoted, and then she does become captain.
There you go.
There you go. End of the season.
Series.
No, they've already been renewed for next year, so it's definitely end of season. So what's our rating out of 10 for this episode? Starting with Elizabeth.
I'd give it a 5. I would take points off for the over dramatization melodrama at the beginning. I really wanted to see what the Vulcan Navarre homeworld looked like. I was upset that they couldn't spend money to find some place in Vancouver that looked like maybe they could be Vulcan. That was the two main things.
I'm sure we're going to get some scenes on planet later in the season.
Well, they better if they're bringing it back as one of the core plot lines. They better have something going on the planet because I want to see what it looks like.
We have 2 people who chimed in with the same comment. Saru smash! That would make a great episode. All right.
Hulk.
Joshy, what's your rating out of 10?
Well, honestly, it's going to depend on what happens in the future.
Just one episode.
If this is the end to the Michael Burnham is confused and lost and looking to find her way in this universe arc, then I'm going to give it a pretty good rating. I'm going to go up to a 7 because I loved everything with Saru and the way that he finally got to shine.
Yeah.
I loved Michael getting called out like just constantly by her mom and by Tilly and just being taken down a couple of pegs. I love that. The Romulans are my favorite aliens, so I loved kind of seeing where they were in the future with the reunification with the Vulcans. I love the fact they took the Vulcan symbol and the Romulan symbol and made a new badge out of it that they were all wearing. I thought that was wonderful.
That was awesome.
So, I mean, other than one of the worst lines that have ever been uttered in Discovery to this point in time about Michael Burnham being the greatest thing ever in regards to like influencing her brother.
Yeah.
It was a good episode.
Yep. Daniel.
Well, I mean, since there's no Giorgio in it, it's an automatic 5, and I can only take points away from there. But I'll stick to a 5. It was an enjoyable episode, very Burnham centric. There really wasn't a B plot line that I cared about. So yeah, we'll go with 5 for now. I am looking forward to next week and seeing what they do with Giorgio, because that just seems more interesting than whatever the hell Burnham's doing with the burn.
Grudge.
So I just want to say offhand, immediately they get bonus points for Spock.
That balances out the lack of Giorgio.
It does. It does. Immediately. So all of you have, for your scores, have received 2 extra bonus points, 1 for each spot.
You have a very complex grading system.
Yes. So I'm going to give it an 8.
Wow.
Without the bonus points. The 2 bonus points.
So great on a curve, you have it's a 10.
What? No, I'm giving it an 8 with 2 bonus points. And that's because Vulcans and Romulans are some of my favorite aliens as well. I adore Spock. I did enjoy discovering where the Vulcans and Romulans were at this point and what was going on with them. And I was not expecting them not to be a part of the Federation. So,
and that was an interesting point to me too, because when Saru was talking to the president and he had said about that the whole SB-19 thing must have been really serious because that's what caused them to leave the Federation. The president was very quick to say something to the effect of, well, that was basically the last straw. They had been doing things up until that point, which again, I thought was great because it's another indication that maybe the Federation isn't the squeaky clean organization that we had been led to believe in the first, early series, that there was something going on there. And for the Vulcans who made first contact, who were instrumental in starting the Federation, for them to pull out of the Federation, there must have been some serious shit going down up to SB. And it'll be interesting to see if that storyline is delved into more as the series goes on.
Exactly. I definitely think there's a lot of fodder for great storytelling involving the Romulans and the Vulcans and the Federation. So I will give it, if I had done this show after watching it for the first time, I would have given it maybe a 3 or a 4. I was so angry at it. But after a day of reflection and watching it a second time, I will go up to a 5, which isn't that much better than my original score would have been. But, there was a lot of really good stuff in it, and all the reasons that you guys gave. My one thing is that I'm just not seeing a real strong point for Book being anywhere in this series yet.
Except a love interest.
Yeah.
And he has a cat. He brought the cat.
Well, that's a good point. I mean, as long as he's got a cat, then...
He's holding a grudge.
So anyway, a 5 for me. So next week, we will be back here Thursday evening at 9 p.m. and we have, hang on, what's next week? Where'd it go? I know we have Clarence Brown. We also have John Rabin, and we have Elizabeth Dyson.
I'll have to note that so I don't forget.
That would be ideal.
Yes.
All right. So thank you all very much for hanging out. Thanks for folks watching and commenting and questioning. I hope we didn't get to every question and comment, but I tried to get the highlights. So thanks everybody, and I hope everybody's had a lovely Thanksgiving.
You too.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Thanks, everybody.
Happy Thanksgiving.
All right, y'all have a
Live long
great.
and eat turkey.
Vulcans are vegetarian.
Vegetarian, right?
Anyway, good night, y'all.
Bye.
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 Bye. Did he just actually just dip out?
And he just kind of left us here.
So
He's
let's
usually
talk
never the
about
first.
I know. What
And I guess we're
happened?
still live, so I don't know. If
I
that
totally
means
hit
that
the
we're-
wrong button.
Where'd you go?
Let's talk about Alan since he wasn't there.
Yeah.
We'll never know.
There you go.
Yeah, it
See
still
how many
says we're
other-
live.
Let me see how many other wrong buttons I can hit. All right. So now we're going to end the broadcast. I promise this time I've got it down.
Oh, we're still going? Oh.
So I'm going to hit it right now, and then we will be out in a second. So